Hello and welcome to episode 9 of the Celtic Rumours TV, the Bawz and Bovril podcast, with your host Mark and myself, Paul. Chris is unavailable again tonight due to work commitments, so in his place tonight we'll have Brian Michaels, known to you guys as Welshy, who will be joining us later on the show. Uh, on tonight's show, we're going to talk about some Celtic rumours. We're going to talk about some Celtic legends, some Celtic's Team of the Year in the Nine of the Row campaign. We're going to do a brief show on the build up to the Celtic and Rangers game on Sunday the 4th. On Sunday, first, we're just going to talk to Mark about some shout outs. So, Mark, how are you? Good to see you again. Mark, can you hear me?
Oh, thanks, Paul. Is that better?
Yep, can you hear you now? Yeah.
Sorry about that. Thanks again, Paul. Well, I'm delighted that we got Welshy coming on later on. Cover.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Welsh Boy has a few good things to be saying as I was talking to him last night, I think. So I think that's in every Celtics thing this season is that they actually can't go to the games and kind of be at the games,
We've,
you know.
the oldest stalker in town, isn't he? Welshy boy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Just
yeah.
well, thanks to everybody that's tuned in, and all the subscribers. But that's us. But it's just over 330 now. That's brilliant. But if you haven't subscribed, then please do it. We've planned something a wee bit different for Sunday's Scottish Cup derby, and I'll put details of that in the forum tomorrow morning. But we're hoping that you'll all enjoy what we've got planned for it. A lot of work plans went into it. Well, as always, of course, I want to send our best wishes out to Tim Alloy, Malika, and ROH. Just take care, lads. And finally, we're very own wee mascot, Steph Laddie Ben. He's actually home from hospital, but he's still got a long, tough road ahead of him. So get well soon, Ben. We're all rooting for you, buddy. Hail, hail.
Just a few greetings there. Bestie Bikes is on the line.
Tell him
Alexandric is on the line.
to be working, tell him. He's not got time to spend on here.
Technology these days. He's working. He's on Zoom call. He's texting us. So I don't think Bestie Bikes is. Chris is paying too much attention to the work tonight. I think Buzz Bomb is on the show again. So good to see you, Buzz. And Bobby Sunderland is after coming on.
Oh, there's Buzz. Nice to see you, Buzz.
We haven't seen it. We haven't seen Buzz in too often on the show. So Buzz, you have to come on to us live someday.
No, I don't think you, Buzz, would come on live. No, I don't think you will. So,
I'll get it. Don't worry about
on you go.
it. Right, so lads, we're just briefly, as Chris is in here, we just have a few Celtic rumours that's kind of popping up this week. Celtic recruitment chief Gary Pinrice is next in line, according to reports today, that he's in line to be heading to the exit door after the departure of Nick Dickey Hammond. Pinrice is likely to be leaving shortly after only being appointed head of recruitment since last April. Mark, do you know, did we see this coming? Do you think that he was next in line to go inside this recruitment?
I don't know if there's an actual line, an extant line, but surely it's all part of the clear out. And I
I
mean,
was reading that
he's been there a while, that pen race, isn't he?
last April. He was there, but he was actually made chief of recruitment last April. He's only newly appointed to this role, chief of recruitment, and supposedly he was the main man behind the Duffy transfer. That he was chief scout at Everton when Shane Duffy was with Everton, and he was a great supporter and fan of Shane Duffy, and he was the chief negotiator to bring Shane Duffy to Celtic, and supposedly that
Well, if that,
that could have been his downfall.
but if that had
You
worked
know.
out, he'd be a hero then, wouldn't he? But I
hmm
don't think he just moved on because he one bad signing.
No, no, I think it's just all kind of part of the whole restructure within the board with Nick Hammond leaving. I think that was his right hand man. You
There's
know.
going to be a lot of comings and goings if the place is basically getting gutted. And that's what it's needing. There's people there that have been doing their jobs and they're kind of just to me gets emotions at that kind of level. So I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
say he's next in line or who's going to be the next in line. I think over the next couple of months and that we'll see a lot of changes and people that we don't really think about what they do with the club and we maybe even don't know their names, like the scouting department. I think a lot of that will get revamped.
I think so. Yeah, I think the scouting is going to be a major overhaul within the club as what we've seen with post signings over the last couple of years. Whoever director of football is going to be, I think there's going to be a huge overall overhaul within our scouting department as well, Mark. Yeah, exactly. Italian news outlet Milan News has claimed that Celtic have opened the door for them to start negotiations for a player plus exchange deal, which will see Laxess and cash for Edward. Now, I mentioned that on the last podcast, but it's actually after coming out today as a rumour that Celtic have opened the door for Milan to start opening those negotiations. That's something I can't believe. I thought Laxell was very poor this season. He had won 2 games, but his overall performance to me isn't worthy of bringing him in a full-time contract. Mark, what do you think?
Said that in the last podcast, Paul. No, definitely,
Mm-hmm.
definitely, 100% no for me. I
And
just
you know,
never seen anything for that. So
well, how much do you think we'd be looking at for Laxell? We say if the Celtic were going for it, Laxell plus cash. What kind of cash are we talking here? Do you think, Mark?
I'd be looking for a bonus on top of it for taking Lax out off them.
Yeah, yeah.
But from what I've heard, Celtic are still looking for top dollar for Dembele. They're not going
Edward.
to, Edward. They're not going to
Mm-hmm.
get pushed and bullied about when it comes to haggling for the price.
Mm-hmm.
So
You know,
I mean, I'd be. I, what do you know what Milan paid for Lax out? Was that
I don't.
seven or something? No,
About 7 million. Like, so they're probably going to value him roughly. We say 5-6 million. That's what they're probably going to value him at.
maybe offer us 15 to 20,
15,
15 to
15.
20 million plus.
Yeah, that'll be 20 million. Yeah, you know,
I
I
think
believe. Hopefully they can start looking at it because I don't. I don't know about if he's going to come in like if he's going to be our number one left back. Next season I think we're going to have some serious issues there that in that position again next season. You know.
Taylor's twice the player that lacks.
Yeah, Taylor actually is ahead of him at this moment, but just only for his injury that he picked up there in the last couple of games. Laxell came in, but Taylor has made that left back position his own, hasn't he? Yeah,
There, Bobby Sutherland said that they paid 12 for him. Bobby,
12 million.
Bobby in the live chat there saying 12 million they paid.
Jesus Christ.
Off.
They could nearly put him sort 7-8 million bracket like you. We know that's what they could put in him like, you know. So my man,
But I think we'll agree that Laxalt's a no-go for us, eh?
yeah, exactly. I think everyone on the live chat as well as
I've never seen
is kind
anybody
of saying.
saying that from. I've never seen anybody saying for definite, oh, he's got a player in there and that. No,
No, he's too wild, Mark. Do you know what I mean? It's like what I'm getting the impression is he doesn't know his position. Like he's too wide. Like he's all I can see him is just bombing up and down the line. But what he's actually doing. Like he's never there to receive the ball off anyone. You know what I mean? He's just like a headless chicken
that's what I
running around the pitch.
if
You know?
for a player that's playing in Italy, his actual
Yeah.
awareness,
And played in the World Cup for
you
Uruguay and everything. You know?
awareness on the park is zero. He doesn't seem to know where his teammates are. He doesn't seem to, as you say, he's never actually in the right position. He's always
Yeah.
running to make up ground, no matter
Because when I thought there when we getting him there and when I heard we were getting him, like I thought we were getting a really top player, like a World Cup international for Uruguay and playing for AC Milan. No, I thought he couldn't. He was coming to us because he actually couldn't get into the AC Milan team. But I can see why he can't get into the AC Milan team the way he's played with us. I know that why they want to get rid of him. You know?
yeah, on the way, there's their best is saying Laxalt, Genoa, Inter. It's no Inter, it's AC. Oh, right, doesn't matter. 5.22, he's saying. That's a bit better than 12, right enough. But
Yeah. So moving on for look, I think we all everyone is a good one here that we agree that people wouldn't like to see Laxell plus cash for Edward. Moving on from that is I've seen it coming, but I've spoken about him a lot. And to be honest, I think he's got a raw deal in the club. I would have kept him, but is Patryk Klimala has flown out to the United States on doing a medical for a permanent move to New York Red Bulls. On the plus side, reports say that Celtic will receive back the 3.5 million that we paid for him last year. Now, I'm really, I'm in two minds about it. I'm glad that we're getting the 3.5 million back. But if New York Red Bulls are willing to pay the 3.5 million that we paid for him, Mark, they see a player in him that we can't see.
Oh, well, you've seen him. We've spoken
Yeah,
about
but that's what I'm saying. That
I've
Celtic
said,
coaches and stuff like that can't see.
for
You
what
know.
for what I've seen him, I would let him go. I've said that to you. I just don't see
Mm.
it at all. But you've seen a lot more of him than this. I go with your take.
Like going by his 3.5 million price tag now, right?
Take that with a pinch of salt. It really is
Yeah,
the move that we're
but
getting
what
that
you've seen
money
of him
back.
this year, would you pay that?
No, no.
So New York Red Bulls have been actually looking at the way he played. I think we say they've been looking at previous games of him in Poland. They probably watched him on the Polish under 21s,
Well,
and they actually see a player that I've been saying over the last couple of weeks that he is a player that can play football. But we just don't play to a system, or we haven't been playing to a system that actually suits Camilla. You know?
well, as I say, you can't. To me, you can't judge a player, or I've said it about a manager as well, just on their last move. I mean, if
Mhm.
that was the case, we would have all been laughing at signing Chris Sutton because he was a disaster at Chelsea.
Mhm. Mhm.
Can make a bad move to the wrong club and it doesn't go well. And as you say, I think that must be, is it New York Red Bulls you said that's in for him?
Yeah,
They
New
must
York
be,
Red.
they must be looking at what they've seen before and just said, well, that move's no worked out, but we've seen what he's capable of at another, but previously, and it's worth the gamble for them. Look at Pookie, but that was made his attitude problems. I don't think that's the case with Klimala.
Mhm.
Sometimes moves just don't work out. Good luck.
Just don't walk out like, yeah,
Good luck to the
because
boy.
he came in with a good approach actually after the lockdown there. He like after January he shaved his head. He came back kind of bigger built. Like he was actually trying really, to get things up for him in Celtic.
If
He
you're
wasn't kind of down in tools or anything like that, Mark.
if you're
You
saying
know.
that, if you're saying from what you've seen that we never played the type of game that suited him, well, we were never going to see the best of him really. So maybe it's probably for the best that he moves on. No hard
Mhm.
feelings. Good luck to the lad.
Rob McNairson, I don't know. Do you know this one, Mark? Is Ronnie Dyler still the manager of New York Red Bulls? I think he is, isn't he? Ronnie Dyler, and Ronnie Dyler has an eye for.
No New York Red Bulls. It's Man City's team he's with. Oh, I need to Google that now.
I thought it was the New York Bulls or something. Is it? Yeah,
New York City FC they're called.
yeah. So like we know, Ronnie Dyler had always had an eye for young talent because look at Oyer, he induced Callum Mack. So he has an eye for young talent. So I think it's a good move for Camilla. And if Celtic are getting 3.5 million back for him,
It's no Ronnie Dyler's team.
hmm
Ronnie's not in charge of the New York Red Bulls. He's in charge of New York City.
Oh yes, so it's not right. I get it's not right. I think
Uh,
yes, yes. So yeah. Sorry, my apologies.
I'm not very genned up in the MLS myself, Paul. I wouldn't
hmm
about it.
You know, so Buzzman, Camilla has a good attitude, but I think we should take our money back. I agree with that. Look, it didn't work out for him. If we're going to get the money we paid for him, it's a good deal for both sides, really, Mark. Isn't it, for Camilla and
Just a
for Celtic?
deal that suits everybody, isn't it? Really, that's all it is.
Um, so there's another one thing, and it's just a report, and I don't know what kind of accuracy it is. Football Insider has stated that Fogel Harkin is in line to be appointed director of football shortly after Dominic McKay is appointed chief executive. Back in the 20th of March, Football Insider claimed the deal was 90% done, but now have claimed that Harkin has agreed to become Celtic director of football and that talks are already taking place and agreed with Eddie Howe to become manager. Any thoughts on that, Mark, do you think?
I've read a few things. I don't know if it's all came from the same source or no, but I've read a few things saying that it's going to be Harton as a director of football,
Mhm.
Eddie Howe's manager, and see the boy that Eddie Howe wanted as director of football. He was getting the head scout job.
Mhm.
I see a few
Mhm.
people saying that, but I think again, does Harkin know Dermot Desmond on a personal level? Just being
I
Irish.
don't know because I'm going back. Like I was reading that Harkin is a boyhood Celtic fan, and for him to come to Celtic, I'm reading like that. It's a dream come home too. I know they knew each other through this Irish connection, but I don't know how friendly they are. I don't know
See, the thing,
kind of anything about that.
people are going to moan, oh, another Irish guy, can we not get away for these just appointing Irish people? See if they're good at their job. Nobody moaned about Brendan Rodgers being Irish.
It's look at Man City under 23s. Look, he restructured that whole Man City. It always had players going out on loan, and the underage teams were never performing. And this season, they're on the verge of winning the under 23s league, Mark. So he must be
Exactly.
restructuring something, Man City, with all this young talent coming in there, you know?
Harton must be good at his job. A, he's working at Man City, so, and B, well, he's working with Man City kind of thing, but you're not going to. It's the Irish thing that people always keep. Oh, we always seem to do that. But if they're good at their job, it doesn't matter if they're Irish. But see, if they're Irish and they've got a connection to the club, that's even better.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
I don't mean Irish with a connection to the club. If you're Scottish and if you've got an emotional tie to the club, to me it doesn't matter where you come from. If they're good,
Exactly. If they're good at their job, Mark. Yeah. Exactly.
that's what
Exactly. If they're
trying to say there. If you're good enough at your job, and then but when it goes wrong, it's always see that's because we always go for the Irish guy and that. But nobody was moaning when we went for Brendan Rodgers.
no, no, and as you said, like Ben Rogers, like Martin O'Neill.
It's just when it goes wrong, fans complain that we always seem to get down looking at the Irish route.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans are kind of with that, like, oh, here we go again. That I remember at the start of the podcast there with Chris, we were saying that James McCarthy is available at the end of next season on a free transfer, and we looked at, and some people are putting in the live chat, not another Irish player, or right, just because like, but James McCarthy is a good player, you know.
Definitely. And they're Terry 61 saying, would there be a connection with Lowell and Harton? Well, Lowell's son's still high up at Man City, so maybe there's a good chance Lowell's met Harton a few times with the deals we've done with Man City over the
I
years.
think Laura wants to kind of get one big deal done before he leaves. Mark, do you think that?
I think he would. I think he would like to be maybe there when they announced the manager. Do you get?
Hmm.
Don't think he'd maybe take all the credit, but I think he would like to be there to show that he played his part in it for his wee last final or
Do you,
Peter kind of number.
do you think he's going to? Is Laura going to have much negotiations with the next manager, or is that going to be all left to Dominic McKay next week? Or do you think when Dominic McKay comes in next week, do you think we're going to expect these announcements to be made, Mark? As are these papers are saying, like the manager will be announced, the director of football will be announced. Do you think that's going to could happen next week after he's appointed?
Well, first with the Lowell part, I think he has played a big part in that, and I was surprised as anybody about that. I thought he would have no took a back seat because he's still the chief executive, and nobody knows Celtic better than Peter Lowell. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
When it came to the actual hard nose, like like talking to Eddie Howe or that, like what Eddie Howe's looking for, to me that should be up to Dermot Desmond to make that decision. Because
Exactly.
Peter Lowell's not going to be there to, do you get what I mean? To have anything
Yeah.
to do with it. But for the actual negotiations, I can see him have why he's involved. But to the level that it seems to be, that doesn't seem too right. And that's when Mackay comes in. I'm hoping that's the case.
Hmm.
Once Mackay comes in, it starts to snowball a bit. We start. I wouldn't build my hopes up like a big procession, the new director of football and the new CEO and the new manager on the one day. I wouldn't build my hopes up on that. But
Hmm.
there must be a reason as well that Mackay's coming in earlier. Is it
Exactly. Yeah. There's something about that, isn't there? That it was supposed to be July, want this at the end of June, July, want this.
June the
Yeah.
1st or July the 1st it was?
Yeah.
So is it maybe
You know, and
they've realised how big? how big it's going to be, the turnover and the work that's going to be involved in the rebuild over the summer. And I've got my
I
kite.
still think they probably thought that Neil Lennon might be there till the end of the season as well, Mark. That that they didn't expect Neil Lennon to go, and why all these decisions has been moving fast to bring down because maybe to get these negotiations done and have a manager in place. You know,
Oh, I'm hoping so. Because there must be a reason for him coming in a bit earlier than it was planned.
hmm David Gallagher was saying there, I've been seeing John Kennedy grown into the position. We talked about that really, but not this season, I think, because there's too much of a big rebuild to be done. And I don't know, I don't think he's the right man and he's inexperienced for this rebuild. If we had a team there that was still winning leagues and we didn't have to do much of a big build, maybe he should be considered. But now, I don't think he's ready or he's the right man at this precise moment. Do you think the same there, Mark, and that?
I agreed on that before.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the difference in the team. You can see it. For a few weeks people were saying, "Oh, it's Kennedy playing it. It's just the same as Lennon, this, that." But you can still only pick from the same set of players. But you
Mm-hmm.
can see the difference in the team. And I know it was only Livingston, but how many teams before that the amount of shots we had in goal, we were getting a 1-0 and 2-0 win. It was only Livingston, but 6-0. I wasn't expecting Celtic to win 6-0.
Not at Livingston, actually, we talked about the game there briefly there on a thing with United Ireland, and it actually came to a surprise. But I'm thinking like the reason is that is Mark because one, you have James Forrest back, all right. The defence has come steady with likes of John Joe Kenny, Stephen Welch coming in. Bain has had a good run. So like, I really don't think the tactics and stuff are really the same. It's the same players. But I think the way this team has turned the corner for me is that James Forrest is available again. And we actually saw how much we actually miss the player all season.
Oh, we've missed Forest. We definitely have. But there's no ifs or buts about it. He's never been his biggest fan. I keep saying that, but you can't argue with the goals and assists that he's gave us over the years. He is an important player for Celtic but he needs to be on his game. He needs to be kept on his toes and be fit and playing week in and week out at a high level. Because he's capable of it. That annoys me when players are capable of playing at a level and they don't do it week in, week out. Everybody's a bad game now and again. But for me, Forrest
hmm
still he drifts in and out of games a lot and doesn't dominate as much as he should in that.
So if we're going to let the kind of rumours there tonight, my apologies if they weren't to Betsy's approval, but we'll have Betsy back to the show for his rumours hopefully on Sunday. So moving on to that, we're going to move on to season ticket renewals. So I'm led to believe that season ticket holders normally get their forms for renewal in April, or some will get renewed June, April. But I'm led to believe they're actually delayed so far. Um, are fans going to? Are you going to renew your season tickets, or are you going to wait till a manager is appointed, directors are appointed, or are you going to make it? So like some fans have been stating that they're going to make a statement how bad this year has went. How do you feel about that situation that's going on at the club with season tickets rules, Mark?
I think a lot of fans will be waiting to see who the management team's going to be. And you can't blame anybody. As I've said, it's not my money. I'm not going to tell somebody how to spend their money. See if you want to buy a season ticket, buy one. See if you don't. There's other folk that will. But don't make yourself out you're some kind of martyr. Oh, I'm not buying a season ticket. Do you get what I mean? It's just
Mm-hmm.
it's your personal choice. It is a lot. It's a lot of money nowadays. I mean, I can remember a season ticket, and it was in see like this what you call the snobby stand, the south stand. I had a season ticket in there, and it cost me £195.
Mm-hmm.
That,
Like some people are asking, like Mark, to kind of be repaid, like for paying a lot of thousands on season tickets. There, maybe the fans should get some discount this season. Maybe people are talking about for Celtic to give some shares out to these season ticket holders, but you can't pick just one or two season tickets out random. It's every season ticket holder within the stadium that you have to give these to. Can Celtic afford to convert these some discount to shares?
I don't know about that idea either. I don't.
Hmm.
Seems to me there seems to be like some kind of undercurrent between people in the Celtic support that they're wanting shares and their power to try and get some kind of power in the club, and that's not the way to go for me because I don't think it would work out the way people think it would. So,
Hmm.
the shares, because even at that, the normal fans in the street don't want shares to make money. They just want to be able to say, I'm a shareholder in Celtic. But
That's it. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, the Celtic should maybe look at giving every season ticket holder and every shareholder. They should maybe look at giving them a vote on. I don't mean petty things, but smaller. Do you know what I mean? Smaller things to give them a say in maybe what direction the club goes in certain aspects of it. But I don't. I mean, what's the point of giving somebody shares because the season was shut down?
There's one here from Tom Locke saying he can't discount Celtic. It's a choice. Sometimes economic, sometimes the wife. You're in and you're buying your ticket or not. That's it, Mark. It's your personal choice, isn't it? If you want your ticket,
You've,
you think. And my point, it's going to the club, Mark. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter who the manager is. And my opinion, it's still going to the club. It's going towards new players. It's going to develop the academy. It's all going to be, all this money is revenue for the club that the club actually needs to keep the running of the club going. And for some groups of fans to come out and asking people not to renew their tickets as a statement is, that's not
no,
practical. And, that's.
I don't agree with people telling people what to do with their money and their life to that extent. I mean, there's guys that have been going to football for 30, 40 years, and now there's people on the internet telling them, why you shouldn't buy a season ticket because Celtic didn't do this or they didn't sack Neil Lennon. Just,
Hmm.
nah,
But there's another thing going wrong that supposedly that the deal between the Scottish FA and Sky Sports was only for 1 year, where clubs were allowed to show their home season games on their own TV channel. But that was only for 1 year, and that's going to expire for the end of the season. And Sky are reluctant to let that happen next season. So if there's no uh, fans left in the season next season, we don't know if there's going to be fans back in the stadium next season, Mark. We don't know that yet, really, do we? But we say if there's going to be reduced capacity, how do they decide then who's going to come in to the stadium and who's not? Like a reduced capacity, we say within the stadium. A lot of they're going to ask fans to fork out again on Celtic TV, which I'm led to believe has been very, very poor this season.
and then if
And
can you imagine the arguments it would cause about who was getting into the ground and who wasn't. The
mhm,
the egos that are out there on Twitter and that within the Celtic support, it would be civil war.
mhm. So so going back, I'm saying so the revenue that comes into the season ticket holders, where does that money actually go, Mark? Does it actually go into the youth academy, or does it go into revenue within
I think it
players? Or
goes into the pot. Basically, it just goes into the big pot of the finances. I don't think there's any specific path that it takes. But well,
I,
Celtic pools, they get a lot of money to the academy and that. They get a lot
uh,
of funding through the Celtic pools.
uh, Celtic fans won't mind paying the money if we spent it on transfers. But that's what we're trying to say. That's why what I'm kind of looking into is that does the money actually go in to the transfer fund, or at the start of the season when a new manager's coming in, Mark, he's told this is your budget. We say Eddie Howe comes in. What type of budget do you think Eddie Howe will have? If he's the manager, I don't know if we just say it's Eddie Howe if he's coming in.
Oh, that's put me in the spot. That
Yeah, and I'd spot. But what can Celtic expect to give, or what can we actually afford, Mark, to for this rebuild?
well, we've still got money in the bank. We've still got a massive overdraft facility that I'm sure's underwritten with Dermot Desmond or through him or something like that, which Celtic don't like using it, but it's there if they need it. Plus the
Mm-hmm.
income. There's plenty of money to be spent. Plus the money. Think of the money.
Amount of money that we're going to sell on players this season that we actually kind of know that's going to go. Exactly, yeah.
I mean,
You know, with players score, Mark, I think we're at least expecting at least 30 to 40, I think, with players going, I think.
I'm expecting more than that. I'm really expecting more than that. I, th-
Mm-hmm.
I,
So,
I think Celtic, you're talking about £20 million for Aya, £20 million for Edward.
and what's in Oyer's contract, Mark? What's left in his contract, Oyer?
I think he's only done his last year as well.
And can you still expect 20 million for him 1 year?
Up between 15 and 20 million, no, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see why not.
I'm led to believe Welshy is back in the room.
You talk.
We're going to get Welsh.
Welshy set up, right?
Brian Michaels is Welsh boy from the forum. He's running late today, but he's now here.
Just in time for this talk about the
It was actually Brian Michaels that wanted it.
I was going to talk about it. Hello, Welshy. Oh, he's not there yet. I was meant to be Welshy.
Hello?
Welshy, welcome to the show, Brian. Nice to have you.
Hi. How you doing, pal? Okay?
Not too bad, no, not too bad. We're just on the topic, actually, that you wanted to talk about is season ticket renewals.
Okay.
How do you feel about this situation?
My biggest issue is more down to the fact that there's lots of people out there spend a lot of money over this added value of the season books for the Celtic TV. You know, I've got a family of 3 in our club who spent over £2,000, and it's, you know, one season has to watch the TV show, and it's not been very good. So
we've just been stating that actually that the season Celtic TV has actually been, I'm led to believe that has been very poor, and a lot of fans have been disappointed. And if no fans are being left into the stadium next season, and you have to pay for another pass for Celtic TV, would you be able to pay out that full price for Celtic TV again, Brian?
Obviously, it goes down to a personal choice, doesn't it? And obviously, finances are all different for everybody. You know, but to know if there's any light at the end of the tunnel where you're actually going to get in or not, that to me makes a big difference to your decision. I mean, I'm quite forced. I'm going to pay for my season ticket anyway because I can afford it, but there's other people out there who can't. You know, or when I say can't, they get the money together because it's, you know, following Celtic's what they do, it's what they live for. But to take that, the household income, that can make a big difference if you get no return.
Especially after the year we've had as well, people not working for a while, people losing their jobs and that. It's a big decision for a lot of guys to make.
100%. I mean, if you look at last season, we lost 5 games at the end of the season, and we got £100 discount for that off. Now you could take the discount, or you could put it onto your season book this season. But there was none of that mentioned when the season about renewals came out this season. It was only after it was done that it was like, well, look, there's not going to be a refund, but there's going to be added value, which was the Celtic TV, which we've all watched.
And has anything? I'm led to believe you normally get your Celtic season ticket renewals in April, Brian. Is that right?
To be honest with you, I do mine through an affiliation, so it's a bit different. I don't actually fill a form as such or whatever, you know. I'm the ticket convener for our CSC. Basically, I'm in touch with, you know, another CSC who gets the tickets for us. So we've got a bit of a better setup, so to speak. So we don't actually deal with Celtic themselves. We go through that way, and obviously, and as well, I know there's good points to that as well. We don't actually fork out for the whole book at one time. I mean, we get to the end of October to pay for ours, which, you know, it can help a long way.
Exactly. That's the.
Do they still do the instalments version?
You can get the instalments, but it's through that's a finance company. But yeah, you can still do it. That's spread over 12 months. Yeah, but I say all the boys do it through another way.
A few of my pals used to do the paid it up every. I thought it was like it was 3 payments or 3 months or something like that. But you'd know better than me. It's been that long since I had a season ticket.
I'm pretty sure. Well, there's only one of our boys that does it that way, and I'm sure it's either 10 months or 12 months he pays for it. Obviously, No, there's no interest.
No.
And I'm hearing that some fans group, Brian, have come out to say hold off on your season tickets till a new manager's appointment, till the director's appointment, and make a statement by delaying your renewal date because of the way this season went. Do you have any thoughts on that? What these fans are saying? I think is if you're a Celtic fan, you're a Celtic fan, and if you always get a season ticket, renew your season ticket. You know.
To be honest with you, I caught the tail end of what Mark was speaking about just before I came on, and it's a personal choice, isn't it? You know, either going to, you know, someone posted, it was Rich posted last night about loyal Celtic fans. That really annoys me when people say that, because that's what the club buy into. You know, Celtic fans are loyal, but you've got to look at the bigger picture. Everybody's scenario is completely different, and it's not a case of, you know, there'll be a lot out there on Twitter, like you say, in different places who will vent and say, I'm not renewing for this reason or that reason. But deep down, I would say most season book holders want to renew. But this season, it's a case of can they afford it? You know, are the club going to help them?
Do you not think a lot of these people who say they're no renewing are kind of, I mean, they're anonymous folk on Twitter and that.
And they could be one of the first people on buying their ticket then.
I mean,
you know?
easy enough for Welshy to come out here and say, I'm not buying a season ticket this year until Dermot Desmond sells his shares. But we don't know if he does or no. I don't mean that against you, Welshy, but I'm talking about these anonymous folk on Twitter that are trying to tell folk what they should and shouldn't be doing.
Exactly, yeah.
Everybody, you read all these things. I mean, there's 15 books that I look after, and you know, I deal with these people day in, day out when we're talking about tickets, and we have a lot of conversations. And you know, the main one for most of us, it's the ones who've got, you know, like me, I'm myself, I've got my season book, and that's me. But you've got one who's got their son with them, you've got another one who's got his son and his wife with them, and it's really the fact is, yeah, they want to renew, but you know, the finances, people have been out of work, there's been different things. It's a case of, you know, do I fork out again this season for no return when I could have been doing this in the house or putting this towards that bill or whatever it might be? I think Celtic just need to make a statement of intent and say, look, we know it's been a bad season, but this is what we're going to do. Or on the other side, we're not going to do anything. But there's nothing coming from them.
Do you think that's why Dominic Mackay might be coming in earlier?
I kind of hope so. I mean, let's say you read a lot about the fans saying about the appointments of the manager and this, that, and the other. I personally don't think anything's going to happen until Mackay comes in. But him coming in earlier is obviously, that's got to be a good sign. I mean, it's widely known that there's a lot of the supporters and there's been a disconnect from the club. You know, and to me, Lawwell's a big part of that, despite how well he's run the club financially. There is definitely a disconnect to the fans.
Paul?
There's some talks about some fans that I was saying to Mark, and he, do you know what, kind of, he wasn't in favour either, that some fans want a discount, kind of a refund, but put into shares within the club. Is that something that would interest you, Brian?
You know, I've looked into this a little bit to see what the crack is with it, but I'm not 100% sure. I mean, to me, let's say I've stated already, I'll be renewing my book no matter what. But you know, I heard Mark saying before about shares is nice for a wee bit in the club, so to speak. That is a good thing. There's also the Celtic share and the Celtic Trust to try to sort of accumulate the shares together to give it one big voice. Again, I don't know too much about it, just what I read. So, you know, I've been invited. I'm going to look at one of the meetings they have and try and get into that a little bit more, just to see what they're after, what they're going down. But then you know, to me, it's the financial side of things for families who have a season booked. That to me is the most important thing. I say, I'll renew anyway, but you know, it's the ones that do I buy my son his book this season so he can't go, or do I buy him a new bike, or do I pay this bill? That to me is the main thing. I just think that there should be something out there, either if they come out with something for those who've got more than one book in the house, you know, for families or something. And even say you'll get a 25% discount next season or 10% or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I think people are going to be happy with that kind of a discount, won't they? Like a certain percentage off it, you know?
Exactly. I mean, that money that money's gone in everybody's eyes now. They've spent that. There's nothing they can do about it. But you know, it's when it comes to next season, what happens. I mean, I heard you saying before about who would get into the ground and who wouldn't. I mean, I'm looking at it from the point of view that surely it's going to be people closest to the ground. It's not going to go on how many games you've been to, or how long you've been a book holder, or so forth. I think it'll be people who are closer. I know there's
I
thousands of
think
us.
so, yeah, because like we said they keep the kind of COVID out from far away people and keep people close to the city that less in chance of COVID kind of spreading then really into it, you know?
100%. I mean, it's public transport and supporters
Yeah.
buses and everything else. I mean, I'm under no illusions. I mean, there's thousands of us who travel from hundreds and hundreds of miles away.
So can we see you, Brian, so next season in a tent in the car park outside Celtic Park, just making sure you're going to be getting into the stadium?
Oh, do you know? I've been trying to get a job in Glasgow. I keep getting moved further south. I'm in London at the minute. The company's got work in Glasgow and they keep moving me further south.
You know, you would.
So look, I think we'll move on from season tickets there now, and we just have a quick chat there with Brian because he's late to the show. What's your hopes for next season, Brian, and what you think the club should do to win back our title, hopefully?
Well, it's definitely going to be a clear out. There's no doubt about that. I mean, to me, it's more a case the 10's gone. You know, the pressure's off, but obviously we need to get my title back. So it's a case of it. I don't think we should be going out there and rushing into buying 10, 15 players or whatever. We need to get the setup right. I mean, it hurts this season. Even if it doesn't happen next season, it'll hurt. But we need to get the foundations laid for going forward so that, you know, we can carry it on and it's set properly throughout the team.
Exactly. I think that's the main problem in the club, isn't it? Really, the foundations, that there seems to be no kind of foundations at the moment. The club seems to be in the right weird place, and a whole new setup needs to be put in there and basically start from scratch next season. And as you said, if you don't get it back next season, we're definitely going to go on a run within the next couple of seasons, you know?
Well, this is it. I mean, so you look over the last however many seasons. I mean, I get it all. I mean, I live amongst Liverpool and Man United fans and I work with all these type of people, and they always say, how can you keep going up? You're always winning. My whole thing is to see improvement. As long as we improve every year, it's still what Celtic full stop. But all I ask for each season is improvement. You know, and it's. I mean, you take this season on board, and you sort of caught between a rock and a hard place from the management. Obviously, Neil Lennon's taking penalties and what have you, but the players. But you couldn't have changed all them players at the start of the season. They're the players that got us there, and obviously they're the players that have let us down this season as well. So it's. You know, it's on one hand, it's how much good they've done for us, and on the other hand, is where we've been this season.
Yeah, I think that's what the Celtic board were trying to do, was kind of keep these players and not let them go and keep them. And it did kind of backfire on the board because basically they down tools. It was like a two fingers up to the board for not letting me move on. Kind of really want it.
100%. You know? I mean, I was more than happy to start the season, to go into the season with this squad, and you know, let's say Duffy never worked out, but on paper he was ideal. You know, there was a few different things. You know, the goalkeeper situation's been a bit of a farce. I don't know. It's just.
Do you think we're going to see a new goalkeeper next season?
I don't know. It depends what Barkas does. It depends how things change over the pre-season, doesn't it? I mean, Barkas might come to the fore. I mean, I think Bain's good enough to be in goal in the SPL, in all fairness, but you know, we want to be better than
it's
that.
It's really in Europe when Bain kind of seems to be kind of inexperienced, he kind of makes these silly mistakes, don't we? We always kind of get caught out in Europe, don't we? That's where the big problem is. Our defence. It's every year the same mistakes. You get away with these mistakes in the SPL, but not in Europe. But we pay for these mistakes this year in the SPL. But 9 times out of 10, like, we do get away with them in the SPL. These mistakes that we make in Europe.
To be honest, 15, 20 years follow Celtic in Europe, it's always mistakes that cost us. You know, some of the great performances we've been put in, and some of the mistakes that we've just killed us.
And who would be your ideal manager to come in, Brian?
Oof, that's a hard one, to be honest.
Roy Keane.
Keane would be fun, to be honest.
Get Ronnie.
I don't know what that.
Get Ronnie.
You know, I'd be shouting for Ronnie all day long. I don't know.
Do you think Ronnie got a raw deal? So, Brian, that within that time he was here. I
think that Ronnie was sort of thrown in the deep end, to be honest with you. He was, you know, We know the stories. He was meant to come in as a number 2. And perhaps that might have been better for him to be accepted more by a lot of the support and whatever. He was thrown straight in. But I love Ronnie. We even call our support club Ronnie Davis. So there you go.
So we're going to just move on there for Mark, and we're just going to try something because the week that's in it, we're going to do a Celtic Legends thing, and it's basically that the top 5 Celtic legends by the Celtic site is number 1, Jimmy Johnson, Paul McStay, Jimmy McGorry, Billy McNeil, and Henrik Larsson. So what we want to do is finish from Henrik Larsson, and if you had to pick 5 new legends within Celtic since Larsson, who would they be? Mark, have you
Just go through the
some ready for us?
Just go for one at a time, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Just go one at a time. My first
Yep.
one is Tom Boyd. Got to bring Boyd in. Maybe not a popular choice, but for me, Boyd doesn't get the recognition he deserves with a lot of the Celtic support. I mean, he spent 11 years at the club, won 8 trophies, 5 years as captain, and won seven trophies as a captain, including captain when we stopped him winning 10 in a row. It's maybe not great when your level of expectations at Celtic, but when you consider the state the club was in when he arrived, I think he should be. Well, I know that he is very, very proud of his Celtic career. So Tom Boyd's my number 1. How about you, Paul?
I'd Artur Boruc, goalkeeper. I just thought his presence in that goal, and especially when he was in Ibrox, when he blessed himself and he held up the flag on the pitch, I thought it was just it was brilliant when I saw it. And I always remember it. So mine was Artur Boruc. You know, Welshy.
Tommy Bond. So he is Mr. Celtic, isn't he? So, to me, he's one of the biggest heroes ever and always will be. So, deserves his legend status.
Mm-hmm. Next, Mark.
My second one, Scott Brown. Not much else.
Mm-hmm.
Not much else you can say about Brown, but 14 years at Celtic, 11 as captain, trophy haul, 21 winners' medals, just with us, 22 with the League Cup that he won with Hibs. That makes him second only to Billy McNeil in Scotland, and second behind both Kenny Dalglish and McNeil. Any Scottish player trophy haul, and a win in the Scottish Cup this year. But a fitting end to his Brown Celtic career, but that also puts him equal McNeil and Dalglish. That's an absolute no-brainer for me. And in years to come, I honestly expect there'll be a statue of Brown in the Celtic way.
Mm-hmm. I was the same as well. Scott Brown.
So you went me too?
Yeah, Scott Brown as well. Yeah, just because being who he is and the season that's in it, that he's leaving at the end of the season, I just had to push Scott Brown in it. As you said, he's Mr. Celtic really for the last decade, and he's been a Celtic since I was a young lad watching him as well. And look, Scott Brown would have to be in there definitely. Brian?
Scott Brown, there's no complaints there. I just hope that we get to the Scottish Cup final, we can take it down so he gets a fitting into his career with us. But I mean, even more so with this talk of the Euros, getting fans in and what have you. It'd be great if we could get some people in there just to give him the send off that he deserves. Yeah, he's been phenomenal for us from start to finish. In all fairness.
Mark?
Number 3, Neil Lennon. Another no-brainer for me. Not really Lennon's biggest fan, as you all know, but guy's given his best part of 20 years service as a player, coach, manager, and well, there was plenty of ups and downs, but in general, it was successful. I mean, there'll be fans out there that will never forgive him for blowing the 10, but that's another topic altogether. But Lennon's got to be considered a Celtic legend, and I think he's another one that over time he should end up on a statue at Celtic Park. Who did you put?
I had Lennon after this one, but considering you said it there, I'm actually going to switch up, so I'm going to put Lennon third. Possibly because as Len is a player, when we were speaking to Barry Forbes on the last podcast there and stuff like that, he was saying, we asked him what was the one player that impressed him last, and he picked out Neil Lennon was the one player that he said that when he didn't have the ball, he's there, he's passing, he's tackling, just what a player. And I know things didn't work out this season for him, but for what he did for the club, as you said, Mark, he has to be classified as a legend. Yeah, Brian.
I think we've got the same list, to be honest, haven't we?
No, that's here. Believe me, we've no.
That's it. No. You've way of Lennon there, haven't you? I mean, this season's been this season, but to me, a lot of that's down to the club itself. He should never have been gone that far. He's obviously had his reason for why he stayed. It wasn't taken out of his hands, and it's going to be, it's been tainted a part of his career. But that's because it's fresh in the minds at the minute.
Mm-hmm.
Over the years, like I say, to do everything he's done and given up for Celtic, it just shows that to me that is a legend. So no, I've got my opinions about him this season, but that's this season. Overall, he's been a great servant to the club, and that thing is, he offered him a job in 2 years' time, he'll come walking back again if he can get it. So
yeah, the next caretaker manager again, the Celtic coming in saving us again in Jan, be Neil Lennon, and in the show again, you get the job again.
Don't have nightmares, but definitely a Celtic legend, Lennon, 100%.
Number 4, Mark.
Number 4, this will probably be a surprise to some people, but James Forrest. Just simply, his length of service to the club and the amount of trophies he's helped us win. This is 18th year at Celtic, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Forrest be a one-man club, or at least be like Brown's age by the time he moves on to another team. 9 league titles he's won, 5 Scottish Cups, 5 League Cups, and he's won a stack of personal Player of the Year awards as well. That's going for somebody that's not even 30 yet. And who was he? If he hangs about at Celtic, he could end up being Scotland's most decorated player by the time he retires.
And he's never kind of came out either, Mark, and said that he wants to ever leave. Do you know what I mean? He always.
I think there was a couple.
I think he's the type of player that be a one-man club. I think, is he? Like the Ryan Geeks of Man United.
I think he'd have went before now. I think he's had his chances. I think maybe a few times his head was maybe turned with the money, but he stayed and played him.
That's yeah, exactly, and you have to credit players for that. Like any player can go down for the money, and it was the same with Scott Brown at his time as well. He was offered good money to go down to England and even Australia when they were after him last year. He didn't want to go. It wasn't for the money; it's for the love of the club that they stayed. Yeah, mine is going to be a bit a strange one for him, but I like this man, and I always did. Is Georgie Samras?
Oh God, man!
I loved him. I remember the 2 goals when we were playing against Rangers, and Samras got the 2 goals. One, he kind of ran from the halfway line. It was the only time I saw Samras run, and he scored. But I have to put Georgie Samras in there. I'm sorry, lads, but I have to put him in there.
You're lucky you've not been to the games, Paul.
Huh?
You're lucky you hadn't been to the games.
I know. See, I only watch the good ones on the television. You see, so that's why I'm putting him in. Who do you have in there, Brian?
Next one for me was, I might go wrong with the stick of the legends list, but for me, Lubo's one of them. That boy, his feet were like wands. It was something else to watch. I don't think we've seen anybody come as close to him as skillful as him since he left. So, to do it at such a late stage of his career, and Lubo was fantastic. Definitely a legend for me. But I mean, that's more than a case of playing status rather than what he's done for the club, so to speak.
Lubo.
Oh, as a player, I can understand that. Welshy putting Lubo in, definitely. One of the best players I've ever seen in a Celtic shirt.
Was his Celtic debut? He was against Rangers, wasn't it? And he got the 2 goals. Am I right there?
The 5-1 game.
2 goals. Did he not get an assist as well?
Yeah.
And
it was Weinglass that signed him, wasn't it? Weinglass, he never can, Dr. Joe. Who do we have next, Mark?
From Duisburg, wasn't it?
Next, this will put the cat amongst the pigeons. It's not actually a player. but I asked Paul if I could put him in, and it is the man, Peter Lawwell. I know that it's not going to go down too well with some of these.
You're going to be busy on the page later, you.
But really Welshy, I've said it a lot of times about him. It's not everybody's cup of tea. Like Lennon's time, there's been a lot of ups and downs, but nobody can argue that he's been presided over and had a massive say. We've dominated the Scottish game this century for the last 20 years, 21. Well, they won this year, but overall this century we've dominated it. And we questioned his ambition at our European level and that. But people were happy, just the same as Lawwell was happy to just be the top dog in Scotland. So, but you can never fault what he's done for the financial and corporate side of things. I think Peter Lawwell's done a great job for Celtic over the years.
And it'd be interesting to see how Celtic do without him actually as well, isn't it? You know?
There's no doubt how good he's been for the club. It's just if he keep his nose out of football next year, it might have been a lot better as well. So, but you can't deny Lawwell how good he's been for the club. I don't think there's any Celtic fan that can have that argument that he's no, but he has been the opposite. So no, I think most people will agree, especially when he's gone. Time will tell then.
Exactly. That's exactly. Time will tell how.
Will we miss him or won't we miss him type of thing, or but then it can be a case of we won't miss him because of what he set in place for the successor. So there's a few things you see. The time will tell with that one.
Who did you?
I have James Forrest, but we spoke about James Forrest, so that's who I had in. So I had James Forrest. Brian, your last.
My next legend was Danny Green. Like I say, I wasn't sure whether it was. That's what I say, but I know I didn't really realise.
If I had Lawwell, you could have Danny Green and let you off with that.
Let you have that. So you kept that quiet, Mel, you didn't.
You know, it was when you said the list of Larsson was the last. I got the wrong end of the stick or what it was after him. I don't know. Just Danny McGrain just epitomises what Celtic were all about when I was younger. It was that. Just seeing him in his Celtic step, especially that one with the love streak, the away top on, it's just, I don't know, Danny McGrain. And it's the fact that he's still there, So there he goes, contributing.
See how you could have for what you're saying there, he is still there. So because see when I was thinking I was going to see instead of Lawwell, I was going to put John Clark.
That's what I thought you were going to say, to be honest with you.
I thought of John Clark. So we'll let you off for the Danny McGrain one.
Rob McNair has
a bit controversial here in the Paul.
Yeah, Rob McNair has Brown, Tierney, Borritz, Forrest, and Foster. I suppose Foster could be there as well, but my thoughts on Foster kind of went down when he kind of turned us down at the start of the season to come back. When it was kind of a gentleman's agreement himself and Lennon that he would come back, and we were kind of guaranteed him basically on coming back. But then my opinion on Foster has kind of changed. Would you actually give Foster another chance actually if we approached him next season to come back to the club, and if he wanted to come back, would you?
No, I wouldn't. No, no. No, if that.
What about yourself, Brian? Would you be?
No, not for me. I think too many fans get attacked.
JFP, he's always talking about him, so I knew he had to put him in there. It was Roy Keane, so I knew he was. Terence Casey says Jackie McNamara. I suppose you couldn't fault Jackie McNamara either for Celtic, what he did for Celtic over his career as well. Wanted Jackie McNamara. Of all the struggles that we had right back, we could actually do with Jackie McNamara this season, couldn't we?
Definitely. I never even gave Jackie McNamara a thought. I would have had him in there probably. I think another player really, because somebody said Tierney. I don't see Tierney. I don't see Tierney as a Celtic legend. So it's just he'll end up becoming a legend for somebody else.
Had his chance.
A great player for Celtic, fantastic player. But
one player we forgot was Nakamura. Rob Merrick says Nakamura for Celtic. His free kick against Manchester United in the Champions League. I never forget that.
Same extent.
I think you can say for me. I mean, after Lubo and that was purely for football in terms, but legend status is a different thing altogether, isn't it?
It
You know,
is really, isn't it? Yeah,
what they've done
it's
for the
showing your
club and
kind of
stuff like that. And it's
they're, they're,
probably
they're,
true.
they're passionate for the club and everything, isn't it, Brian? You know, they're passionate for the club, their love for the club. It's a kind of a different category,
Well,
really, like the best
that's
players
it.
or anything like that, like, isn't it?
If you're going to compare the list that we've just done ourselves, and in all fairness, to stand them up in legend status is to stand them up against the five that you mentioned first time round. And if they can match to that type of achievement and commitment and what have you, let's say Brown, Lennon, those have done. So they deserve legend status. That's legend status.
There's not many players now that stay in the club for nearly 10 years in their career. No, like the max players will stay in the club is
That's what
3-4 years and they move on, isn't it?
I was
You know?
basing mine on there, like the long term, the service they gave and helped
Yeah,
us win
yeah,
trophy after trophy rather than actual
yeah,
football skill as such.
yeah, exactly. One we actually missed out one was what do you think about Paul Lambert?
Lambert's a great player. But to me, he falls into that category, doesn't he?
So
We could do that for another night. The
best players,
that
yeah.
only here for maybe 2 years. Do you know what I mean? Something like that.
Team after team after team. Everybody's got great memories of certain players. We've had some great players through the door, haven't we? You know, they all give you, and everyone's got certain memories of different things. And sometimes, like you forget about Jackie Mack there, weren't we? Sometimes it takes somebody to mention something that kickstarts something else again in your memories, doesn't it?
That's it, like, because you heard you when someone texts in a player, you go, "Geez, I forgot." Like Jackie McNamara, they're like none of us thought of Jackie McNamara, and then when you hear someone else say it, then you go, "Jesus, Jackie McNamara, like he definitely be classified as a Celtic legend or a good player." What you always kind of forget one or two players, don't you? You know.
Paul.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that crashed there. I always stick up for Jackie McNamara. I'd have seen my old time team. I'd have either Tom Boyd and Jackie McNamara and probably in my team over Kieran Tierney for a simple reason they were there a lot longer and done a lot better for the club.
Exactly. Like they kind of been there for their whole careers within Celtic, and Kieran Tierney could be a legend within Arsenal. How long he stays at Arsenal, really, isn't he?
Kieran
You know.
will go in and have a fantastic career.
Mm-hmm.
To me, he'll go into a higher level than Arsenal as well. But he'll become a legend for them. It's like Kenny Dalglish. I was only a 3-year-old when Kenny Dalglish left Celtic. I've had arguments with old guys and that about whether Kenny Dalglish is like a Celtic legend or a Liverpool legend. And for me, he's a Liverpool legend. They get the best of him as a player, they get the best of him as a manager. And I don't really believe you can be a real legend for two different teams.
Geez, Mark, if you were only three when Kenny Dalglish was born, I wasn't even a speck.
Mark's a lot older than us.
You're older than me, Welshy, don't geez.
Not a chance.
So we're kind of moving on from that, and what we're looking for now is, look, we know we didn't get the 10 row, which has been disappointment, but we did have some good players over the last for the 9 row. What would be your best starting 11 and the manager for that starting 11? Mark?
Oh, my first up again. I just run through the full team without commenting on that, Paul. Aye.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Right, well, the manager. Well, I was going to pick Ronnie, but obviously I had to plump for Brendan Rodgers. In goal, I've got Foster. Right back, Lustig. Iron Virgil in the middle with Tierney at left back. Brown and Wanyama in the two. I've obviously went for the 4-2-3-1. Then I've went for Forrest in the right, McGregor in the middle, Sinclair in the left, and Dembele up front.
Brian?
No. Boric in goal. We've got Lustig and KT as fullbacks. I was going to go for Isa Gary just purely because when he first came in, he was fantastic, but KT's definitely a better player. Settled defenders, Virgil and Denayer. I just think that one season he had together, they were phenomenal. Brown and Wanyama in the middle. Sinke on the left, Armstrong on the right. I go for Eddie and Musa up front. Few people in that. tried to few in, but that's the team I've gone for in the end.
So we got there. Rob Magnus Milovic is a legend for launching Kenny Miller into orbit.
But
I think that was the highlight of his career, wasn't it?
That's just that, wasn't it?
as you could say that, Simunovic is a legend for doing that. Tony Watts is a legend for scoring against Barca. There's always wee players, things like that pop up. But when you talk about real legendary, you're talking about, for me, good years of service in that. They pop up, to me, that's like legendary moments. They've gave you legendary moments, but they'll give you like legendary week after week, loving what they're doing kind of thing.
Yeah, it's one story at a time there, isn't there? So there's legends you can tell 10, 20, 30 stories about, can't you?
Definitely.
I went Fraser Foster goal again, Lusting. I went Virgil van Dijk, but I went Charlie Mulgrew next to him and Tierney. I went James Forrest, Scott Brown. I went Conor McGregor, Scott Sinclair, and Dembele, and I had to put Samaras up front with Dembele.
How could you make Boric a legend and replace him with Foster in goal?
Oh, sorry.
Good point. You've not done your homework, right, Paul? You're getting lines. I'll PM you about this later, son.
And actually, talking about Lusting, he was a player that gave Celtic
Loved
excellent service as well over the years, didn't he, Lusting, didn't he?
And he loved Celtic. You could tell he loved playing for Celtic.
Oh, I was at Ibrox when he comes sliding down to Wales when he scored that goal. You could just see it in his face. Absolutely loved it. And you know, we all related to him, and he related to us. What a player! What a guy!
Just that was a shame that he just ended up losing that bit of pace, and it kind of put a lot of people off him. But he gave us years and years of good, solid service.
Oh, there's no Celtic fan that I know so a bad word to say about him. Absolutely fantastic player, you know. And to be fair, he probably moved on at the right time, didn't he, for himself?
Yeah, because
you know, I mean, I would like to have seen some capacity, you know, just game here, there, and there, but you know, he gave us the best years.
I think he would have accepted being a bit part. He was a bit gutted when he left.
100%.
Don't think
You see him on Twitter.
Was it Ronnie Doyle at that point in Lusting, was it?
No. Lustig, it was Lennon.
Lennon.
Lennon, was that Lennon? Is he there since Lennon's first time? So is he? Jeez.
I'm trying to think now. No, 3 years of Brendan Rodgers.
That signed Lustig.
No, I signed him.
No, I think it was Ronnie Doyle. If Bawz is on the line, now Bawz can check that out for us on the live chat. I thought it was Ronnie Doyle that signed him.
No, it wasn't Ronnie. 2012 we signed him, so that was Lennon's stint, wasn't it?
It was Lennon's first. It was in Lennon's first time. So yeah. So you could pick any player really from the 9 rows. As Brian said there's been so many good players that we had during the 9 rows that moved on and gave us good service. But we're going to move on from that, and we're going to talk about the game on Sunday. You know, are you worried about the game?
No.
You know, do you think they're going to run outright, Brian, or with the players? Like I thought the players in the last match would stand up and really get in Rangers' faces, and I expect them to come.
I think we did it for a long time in the last game, to be honest. I've said this all season. I mean, you can't take it away from the fact that we've been poor and they've been better. But to me, I just always think, especially these days, Celtic turn up, Celtic win.
Yeah.
You know, man for man, they've got a collectiveness and they don't seem to be making stupid mistakes like we do. We cut that out and we go toe. I wouldn't say toe to toe. Don't go toe to toe. Go play football against them and we'll beat them.
Yeah. It's like their goals against us really have been set pieces, and that's been our weakest point this season. Wanted the set pieces, and that's where their goals have kind of come from. You know,
it's been terrible. I mean, Tim Malloy must be making a fortune on Celtic to winning both teams to score this season.
I've said it before, Paul. That all Rangers is a very good, well organised, well drilled.
Yeah.
They're like the teams we came up against at early stages of the Champions League. They're not get the greatest players, but they all know their job and they all do their job. They're well trained, they're well drilled. They're not a flary. There's no flair about them as such. They're just
No.
a really very, very hard team to beat with the way that they set up.
And they
And
don't
plus,
make
Totally agree with you. If Celtic turn up, we win. To me, that's the exact same.
and is Forrest fit for the game, or is he still?
I think that's going to go to the wire.
He'd make an awful difference, really, if he played, wouldn't he, on the wings, wouldn't he, Forrest as well?
Uh,
You know.
But he never seems to play well against him.
Mhm.
One of the worries with Forrest, I can't really remember him having a good game against him.
the problem we've got there is that it's we shoehorn somebody into that position when he doesn't play.
Exactly.
I mean,
One of the problems with Christie for me, Welshy. Playing Christie as a right winger.
I've never
Yeah.
played so much in my life with Christie when he plays in that position.
Would you go with the same starting lineup that we had against Livingston, do you think, against Rangers?
Why not?
If everybody,
You know that
everybody's
they played they played so well together, and the passing between the team was excellent. You know, their passing and play and stuff like that. And I think that team on Sunday would be able to tear Rangers apart if we played against them.
I mean, I'm hoping that the Livingston game gives the boys a bit of confidence to go there, and we've got some good players. There's no doubt about that. You cut out the silly mistakes and you keep the pressure on the teams. Then
when it comes down to actual football, we've got the best team in the country.
Exactly.
But when they play, and we've not played this season, that's been the main point. We know that ourselves. They'll probably know that, but wouldn't admit it. On paper, we've got far superior players. One or two, McGregor is due. He is a decent keeper. But basically, on paper, if you would think that Celtic would beat Rangers 9 times out of 10, it's no happening this season. And
JFP says we need to put McGuire in the net. We need to score against McGuire within the start of 15 minutes. But I think he's kept them in the game many times this season, hasn't he, Alan McGuire? The saves. He always seems to have a good game against Celtic, really, don't he? Alan McGregor, don't he? Always has a good game against us.
That's because he's up for it, and that's what I want the players to be. They need to be up for it. He hates. So we need players.
Well, out of doubt, yeah, exactly.
But we need. It's like we've got better players. We've just had that discussion. But their players go into these games. You're saying that McGregor always raises his game. To be fair, their centre half did raise their game against us. They don't let anything past them. We've just not been good enough to, or whether it's effort or whatever it might be, I don't know. But see, looking at the Livingston game, hopefully we can take that sort of.
And that was Livingston was always kind of a bogey team for us, really, wasn't it, over the years? Livingston was always a bogey team for Celtic.
It's the place to leave.
Yeah, there's one thing actually there. I saw on the forum. There was something I saw on the forum. Some people asking about it. The two lads that got the UEFA ban, Roof is it, and Kamara, are they banned only in Europe, or are they going to be banned for
just
the next Rangers match?
In Europe.
Just in Europe?
It's just Europe.
No, because that few lads were saying like that if it was a total outright ban for the football, they thought it was a thing, but I thought it was only for Europe as well. That if you get banned in Europe, it's just for Europe,
I'm not quite sure, to be honest with you.
It's a UEFA ban, it's not an SFA ban or SPFL ban, isn't it? No. Rangers striker Klimala has been suspended for 4 European matches. So it's just to affect him in Europe next year. It's nothing to do with domestic game.
Do you think this game is whoever wins this game is a big game? Sorry, Brian, go ahead there.
No, I mean, you look at Roof. I don't think he'll play against us anyway. He's not, whether his ban is counts or not, I don't think he'll play.
Is this a game, a stepping stone for next season? Is whoever wins this season has some ex-players have said in media that this game is going to give the team, whoever wins it, a boost going into next season by knocking them out of the last cup that is there to win. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't.
Play them in the league as
well. I think we need to.
To me, this is the most important game of the season for Celtic. If we knew what to get, see the rest of the league games really doesn't matter. It's even if they beat us in the league, we need to win this cup.
100%. You've got to look at the players. There's going to be a big turnover of players next season. It's the Scottish Cup. Do they want to go with a bang or a whimper? They need to turn up and give it them.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. Because a lot of the players in this season, it's their last season. Like, and if I was a player, I'd want to go on a high with the shambles of the league this season. I'd want to give at least the fans something to cheer about if we got the cup, But hopefully, I'm hoping for Sunday. Really, I'm hoping.
You must think there must be some pride in. I mean, obviously we love it, but to be a player and go and beat your biggest rivals at their place in the cup, there can't be any more motivation than that.
Exactly.
Give something back to the fans. To give yourself something back. Prove to yourself. As I keep saying all season, professional pride. Get out there and show some pride in what you're actually doing, what you're playing for.
So they owe it to the club. They owe it to the captain. This is.
You'd like to see Scott Brown actually get the Lift Road More Cup before he leaves at the end of the season, wouldn't you? For the service he gave us, wouldn't you?
100%, aye.
What's your thoughts actually there, Welshy, on Scott Brown? Do you think it's a good move for Scott Brown, and do you think Celtic will miss him next season?
Since Scott Brown's, he's made a personal decision which he thinks is right for him. Only he will know what's. You can't tell whether it's going to be a good move for him or not, but he obviously feels like he needs to try. I actually think that he's one of them. I was talking about legend status. If he goes away and proves himself, there's only one job he's going to want.
He could be come back like another Lee Lennon kind of a thing, to come back years after if he actually proves himself to be a good manager, come back to manage Celtic. As you said, there's only one job he wants, and really that would be to manage Celtic, wouldn't it?
Why not? I mean, we shouldn't be giving this job away. People need to go and prove themselves and learn their trade, and if they prove to be the best candidate, then why not?
Do you think the future about Celtic fans will accept people like Scott Brown coming back? Or are we moving on that we're always going to be thinking of people like, well, why are we not getting Rafa Benitez in and things like that?
I think it comes down to what they prove, to be honest with you. I mean, I hate this Celtic man stuff. That riles me as well. The best man for the job is pure as simple as that. But if he goes away,
as well, Mark. Yeah, exactly.
If he goes away and proves he's the best man for the job, why not? Same for John Kennedy. Go away, learn, make yourself a career, and if you're good enough, you'll come back.
But that's what I mean. Where are they going to prove themselves? I mean, it's like we get Brendan Rodgers, ex-Premier League. We're looking at Eddie Howe, ex-Premier League. In years to come, the way the Celtic support's gone, evolving over the years, where the way the younger guys are on this social media. Do you think it would take John Kennedy winning the Scottish Cup with Hibs as good credentials to become a Celtic manager?
You're probably right. I mean, I was reading before, somebody was mentioning, it was Lennon at work, who was mentioning about not getting excited about how Rodgers came in and all that. To me, like, Rodgers was a coach, and he came in. That's what the biggest downfall for us this season is not having an actual coach. So you need to learn the game.
The coach not being allowed to do the job with Kennedy.
Well, there's that as well.
To me, Kennedy was the coach and Lennon was the manager, and Lennon blurred the lines a bit.
That makes a difference, doesn't it? Players need to know it's a modern game these days. Especially, you can't expect old school managers to manage young players these days because they're schooled in coming through the youth academies, being taught. I mean, hopefully taught the right way. But you've got guys coming from all over Europe and everywhere to play for us and other clubs and what have you. It's when they lose the ball, what position they need to get in. But it's not just a case of let's go up for this game and get into them. And that's obviously what Lennon's.
That's what we were going to talk about this season. That the players kind of didn't know their position. That they seemed to be all over the place in the formation that Lennon was giving them. They really didn't know what they were doing. And for a young player to get in a team under Lennon was basically mission impossible. That they couldn't. He wasn't the manager that could help a young player progress their career. Really, was he, Lennon? He wasn't that type of manager.
I think the thing with Lennon as well is I think he was always going to go with tried and tested this season because in all fairness, if he starts bringing in 5 or 6 youngsters and we lose 10, he's getting slaughtered anyway. So that's a difficult situation to be in. I mean, you talk about coaching and how players should be. I remember when Sinclair made his debut for us against Hearts. And I remember watching Rodgers. He changed the formations about 3 times in that game to suit how the game was going. That's coaching. You don't just pick a team and say, "Going, that's how we're going to play." To me, that's what Lenny's teams look like.
Mm-hmm. Are you hoping that some the likes of we were talking about with United on there, and the last thing was the likes of Luke O'Connell? Would you like to see him kind of breaking into the first team that he's doing so well at Queen of the South next season?
I'd love to see any youngster break through. I think the worst thing we can do is put undue pressure on them. I mean, Luke O'Connor's going down to play for Queen's Park, which is obviously a lower level, but he's going to grow up down there. But this is the same Luke O'Connor who came from a Bolton first team, so he's had a taste of it already. So no, I don't care whether you're 16 or you're
And even like
20.
that, like these young players can give it a try in the League Cup. Like if we're playing these lower league teams, in the first division and the second division in the League Cup trials, maybe at the start that these players could start getting a run in those games, trying to give the first team a rest because they're more than capable of beating them. Because they're playing on loan in these leagues anyway. So
no reason why we can't have. I mean, seeing we're playing teams like Accies and Livingston the other day at Celtic Park, there's no reason why we can't have at least start the game with one youngster in the team.
mm-hmm.
You see if they're not good enough to play against the lower league teams, we no offence to them, but if our youngsters, I'm talking about guys like in their 19-20 bracket, if they're not good enough to go to Celtic Park and play a part in beating teams like Hamilton or Livingston or St Mirren or something like that, well, should they be sitting? Should that be what we're waiting on coming through? I don't.
Well, they need their chance, don't they? I mean, you look at how many were thrown in after the bye debacle, but it was too many at one time, and it was unfair to expect anything from them. I mean, on paper, this is a young team; they're going to do well, but it needs to be one or two at a time, and it's still 15 minutes here, 20 minutes there, that type of thing.
Exactly.
I agree with Pedro here. Pedro says, personally, I think a lot of young players on the fringes have wasted the season this year. No kind of young player really got to look in this season. I think maybe that was because the 10 rows on the line, maybe Lennon was afraid to put in a young player.
I said, Paul, the amount of subs on the bench. Why were we putting two keepers on?
Two keepers.
We could have keepers on a young lad taking a spot on the bench, and if we were ever up like 3-0 with 20 minutes to go, stick your lad on, give him the last 20 minutes.
100%. You look at Livingston there, throwing on 5-0 up, and we should be throwing young boys on.
To throw one or two young players on, the last 20 minutes or 15 minutes a game, just give them experience there.
That's how they're going to progress. A young player.
And it's the experience this season without the fans being there as well, which,
keeps them
that could be a big difference. That's it.
Yeah. It would actually be a good season for a young player to come in this season with no fans there. If he made a mistake, there's no fans there to get his back or anything.
Welsh is done. I mean, Welsh is only in the team because Julian's injured, but Welsh has come in the team and he's proved that he can handle playing in the team. Fair dues as Welsh says there's no fans there, but that's him used to being in and about the first team squad. That's what to me. That's all part of the progression of their career.
The thing is, he'll come back next season. He won't be nervous next season. He'll come back as a first team player.
Totally.
Do you think we were talking about that there, actually, Brian, there the other day? Do you think he's a starter next season, even in the European Championship games, the Champions League games? Is Welsh a starter few in these games, or is he inexperienced in around the Champions League games?
I think he's, let's not expect too much for the boy. I mean, if he plays 50, 20 games next season in the SPL or, in the Cups and what have you, just keep him with progression.
Exactly.
Let's just be honest, if he plays 5 or 6 games at the start of the season, we come up to a European tie and he's flying, then he needs to play. But I don't know, it's a difficult one. I mean, me, I'd be looking for, I don't know, I'd probably looking for something a bit more experience for certain games and what have you. But not just for him as well,
Somebody said that on the forum the other day, Cowabunga. I'm sure he's in here, but I can't. The names are all confusing me between the forum and in here and emails and that. But he said about me, what I said about Welsh that night. I'm not saying that Welsh is a bad player. I've just said I think he's a great player, but I just don't want to maybe a first choice player for Celtic next season. And the games like the Champions League. He's not really that experienced in Scotland yet.
No. But if he is going to be a first team player, it needs to be because he's playing better than the other guys competing with.
Aye, but see what you said, Bestie, about another more experienced head coming in. Fingers crossed we could get Ayer to stay. I don't see that. But I still wouldn't see Welsh taking Ayer's spot in the next to the more experienced head. If Ayer leaves for me, we're needing 2 first-choice centre-backs next season.
Yeah.
And Welsh will get his chances. We play enough games for him to get plenty of games. But he'll get his chances and let his career progress without getting the piss ripped out of him by Mbappe or somebody like that on a European night.
Do you think, Brian, there's any chance a new manager might be able to... Do you think a new manager might be able to keep Ayer, Brian, to make him stay? Or do you think he's actually going to be gone?
It's looking like he's gone, isn't it? I mean, it goes back to the old saying, we can't stop these boys from progressing. These are European players. They're no ties to us as such, have they? They've got to go on and do what they want to do. To me, I don't think the manager will make any difference in him staying. It'll be a personal choice for himself, and if he's made his mind up, he's going. We certainly won't compete offering him any more type of money. Does a captain stay, keep him here? I don't think so either. Does a project keep him here? I don't think so. But it's down to him, personal choice there, isn't it?
Would you be in favour, just in the captaincy there, would you be in favour of Callum Mack being captain next season, or do you think he's vocal enough to be captain? Or
I don't think you have to be vocal to be captain. I think it's the respect and what you bring to the team that it's what you can get the best out of your teammates. You don't have to be shouting and bawling at them. People have different ways in how they treat the captaincy. I think Callum Mack's done enough to be next in line. That doesn't mean he does to be captain.
I think I will just add
there anyway, Sam. No, I don't think McGregor's going to be here next season.
Your thoughts on that, Brian? Do you think McGregor will be here next season, or do you think some clubs in South will come in for him?
To be honest, we have absolutely no idea. I think if he's got any ambition to do something other than Celtic in his career, then it's got to be now.
That's what last chance, I think, to get.
Yeah, I read an article before with Joe Ledley saying he wished he'd stayed at Celtic, and to me that was because he left for the English League at too old. Joe Ledley was a cracking player for us.
So I have one here actually from Tom Rocks there. He says, I like Encham, but the boy's head is, I'd swear, no development on the Lennon. Your thoughts on Encham, the both of you?
Most frustrating player I've seen since Samaras.
Mark?
No comment. No. I've said before, no one got to get wrestling him again.
The thing is, as well, it'd be interesting to see who the new manager comes in. What kind of thoughts they've got on players. Somebody must be out there thinking, see if it's how he must be looking at the team going, right, I'm losing that lot, but I've got these lot that I'm thinking of coming in. You just don't know, and there's got to be players come in that the next manager, it might not be something that we thought of, but it's something that they trust. It could be anything.
It could actually be someone we actually don't know out of the blue. Actually, that could be the next manager that no one has thought of. We actually don't know what's going on behind the scenes. It could be a big surprise to everyone who the next manager is.
It'll be a surprise to JFP if it's Keane.
I wouldn't put it past this. I tell you, I wouldn't put it past this. Of all the, we were talking about Jewish Academy there, with all the director of footballs we've been linked at, I think Harkin would be, for me, the most qualified for the project that we want to do, considering the job he done at Man City. I think Harkin would be the main man that I would like to be director of football. Would you think along those lines?
How many other people do we know about though? That's the thing for me. I mean, we've gotten to know who Harkin is purely through the speculation, and I'm not saying that he's not going to be the guy, or whether he's not, he is the right guy. But there's got to be more people involved in football who have better knowledge and knowing than us to say, well, Harkin is the best guy. But what about this guy and that guy? There's got to be some sort of process there.
Yeah. Are we going to point the director of football that this
definitely
it was kind of all talk at the start, but it's kind of faded away after the last couple of weeks, the director of football, and it's more of the manager. Like when Eddie Howe was saying, there was rumours that Eddie Howe wasn't coming in because he wanted his director of football, Richard Hughes from Bournemouth, or are we going to appoint a director of football? Do you think?
I think so. I think so. I think it's the way we need to go. I mean, we want to be a modern, progressive club, which is, we need to start putting the foundations down for these things to happen. And to me, that needs to start. Well, now's the best time. The pressure's off. 10's gone. Let's just build the club up again.
Yourself, Mark?
Well, as I've said before, when it comes to directory football, people ask on the forum and ask on here, who would you want to get the job? If Welshy says here, there's guys involved at that level that we don't know who they are. It's a totally separate skill set for anything like we really know. We all think we're the best. No, I mean we all know more than any football manager and that. But for me, it's got to be a certain skill set, and if Harton makes that cut, that's fine by me. But I do definitely agree that we'll be appointing a director of football. As all saying, there's no smoke without fire. All these, it's that places. I mean, Peter Law's got his own wee pets in the media that he talks to, and they leak their wee snidey stories and things like that. So there's enough talk for me about a director of football coming in to be convinced that that's going to happen.
There's a question here for Welshy. It's from Tom Rocks. He says, Welshy, who do you want as head coach at Celtic?
It's difficult. I want Dario back, if I'm being honest. There you go. Favre, when he was mentioned, obviously I heard Best saying there was no substance to that, but that was a name that excited me. I don't know. I'll get behind anybody that comes in. And to me,
I think that's the big question. Actually, did that whoever the managers is, the team, the fans just have to get behind that manager. There's no, I didn't want that manager or thing. Just get behind whoever comes in, give him a chance, see what he can do in this.
The thing is, there's a wider football mentality outside Scotland, going to Europe and what have you. They're taught differently. They live differently. There's a different way of looking at football. There could be somebody from way out west that we've not even thought about who's doing something behind the scenes somewhere else or whatever. Just get them in and see what happens, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. So, folks, that's me done for tonight. Mark and Brian, thanks very much for having me again. Brian, thanks very much for your input and hope to have you on the show again. Mark, over to you, buddy.
All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Everybody that subscribes, again, if you've not subscribed, please do it now and hit a thumbs up. And as you know, Rob Roy for the forum donated a £50 Amazon voucher. We'll be giving that away to one of the forum members in a competition on Derby Day. And the details of what we're planning for Sunday I'll have on the forum. So thanks again for that, Rob Roy, and thanks very much for joining us, lads. And you, Welshy, thanks very much for coming on. Come on, any bud, you know that. You're a legend on the forum. We'll make you a legend on here.
You're a good man.
Oh, you want to finish up?
Sure. No, I'm done.
Right, thanks very much.
Do you want me to talk about next week?
No, we'll put that. I'll put that up in the forum in the morning, Paul, and let everybody see.
Perfect.
We'll sort that out then. Okay. Right.
Thanks, lads. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much.
All right.
Good night. Good night. God bless.
Good night.